see. So let's go on with the bio. He was then elected to the New York State Assembly in 2020, representing the Queens 36th district, and which is the same district that we already went over. So we already know how he got elected. We already, saw the demographic in the district, right? So, and it says that, so now let's go. It goes into his mayoral platform highlights. He wants to do a rent freeze for stabilized units and expansion of affordable housing. Okay. So I want to read this article because this is another 5,000-year-old genie trick. As they keep using this word affordable housing. And how can we get affordable housing? Okay. So, and there's a lack of affordable housing. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's see. Manhattan. Okay. All righty. Manhattan leads the city in empty residences with one zip code leading the charge. Right? Even in a borough that rarely sleeps, silence reigns in more homes than one might expect. Manhattan now claims the highest percentage of vacant residences across New York City, with an estimate of 1,400 apartments, around 1.2% of its housing inventory lying empty. According to a third quarter analysis by real estate data provider Adam, attained by The Real Deal. That figure has barely shifted from the last year and closely matches the national vacancy rate of 1.3. While Brooklyn may appear more vacant in raw numbers, with some 29% of the city's nearly 5,900 unoccupied units, its overall vacancy ratio aligns with the city average of 0.7%. The Bronx follows closely behind Manhattan with a rate of 1.1%, highlighting pockets of underuse even amid New York's broader housing crunch. In terms of Manhattan, the contrast between the neighborhoods are stark. In zip code 10012, which includes Soho and East Village, roughly 4.3% of all residences sit empty. More than triple the borough's national norms. Both prime areas, it seems high prices may be the cause. But there's more than meets the eye. The scale of residential construction conversions have been higher in downtown Manhattan, particularly in specific neighborhoods such as Soho and the East Village, which represents this trend, said appraiser Jonathan Miller and Miller Samuel. Coming out of the pandemic, Manhattan experienced the highest rate of population growth, particularly downtown, which was further aided by many office to residential conversions, with many more expected, he added. This has resulted in potentially higher vacancy rate compared to other boroughs, but it is not excessive. Now, they touched on a lot of things in that article, right? They touched on a lot of things in that article. And the main thing I want people to understand is that there are a ton of vacant apartments in the city. In Manhattan, in Brooklyn, in everywhere. The reason being is because I can't remember the year, but there was a law passed. I believe it was during the Cuomo administration. there was a law passed basically saying that landlords could not raise the rent from a rent stabilized apartment more than like I think it's like 5% or 10% or something like that, a very small percentage. And that percentage, once you have like when a rent stabilized apartment and somebody moves out of a rent stabilized apartment, 9 times out of 10, they've been in this rent stabilized apartment for like 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years. And the apartment needs to be, redone. The electrical needs to be done. It needs to be, everything just basically needs to be gutted and redone. The bathrooms, the kitchens, everything has to be, up to standards of 2025. And so the landlords are saying that if they only up the rent that percentage amount, that it's not enough to cover their costs to fix the apartment. So what landlords have been doing is leaving the apartments empty because it is more cost effective for them to just leave the whole building empty than to fix the apartment up and then have somebody in there that they can't get out and everything like that. So here's an example of a 5,000-year-old genie trick. They sit there and tell you that they're passing this law that's going to help you. We're going to pass this law. This is the city council and whatnot, right? They come to you and they tell you, hey, we're going to pass this law that's going to, make sure that rent stabilized apartments stay at a certain price. And you think, oh, that sounds like a great idea. Yeah, you want more rent stabilized apartments on the market or to remain on the market. So you're like, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. But in actuality, you cut your nose off to spite your face, because what happens is the landlords are like, well, then F it. I don't even have to, rent this apartment at all. So when they're taking into account how that there's no affordable housing, they're not taking into account how many empty apartments are in the city. Now, they talked about how many empty apartments there were in Manhattan, and Manhattan has the most empty apartments. And I say that that there are more empty apartments than what they're saying. So they're saying that Manhattan has the most empty apartments, and part of that reason is because of the commercial to residential conversions. Now, anybody who has ever done any amount of real estate knows that when you are putting a new property, whether it be an apartment, whether it be a house or whatever, apartment too, because the condos. So when you're putting something on the market, you have to look at the comps in the area. So they're lying to you, or I don't even want to say they're lying to you, because they're technically not lying. They're just not telling you the complete truth. And they're letting you think what you want to think. They're telling you that they're going to, that we need more, housing, like there's no housing, and so we're going to take these apartments and convert them into residential apartments, but they're just going to be apartments that nobody can afford because of the area. You can't add more apartments in Soho and all of these places unless you're going to flood the market to make the price drop, and you got to add thousands of apartments to make the price drop. It's not going to be, the price is so astronomical. It's not going to come down to an affordable price, because the outer boroughs are not even affordable prices. So then they tell you, okay, well, what we're going to do is we're going to have this apartment building, and it's going to have so many affordable apartments. And what happens is, what they end up doing is, if they do let anyone in at all, they'll let 1 or 2 people in. They won't fill all the let's say the requirement was for 10 apartments or 12 apartments. They're not going to put all 10 or 12. They might move 1 or 2, maybe 3. Right? Then they'll let the other apartments sit empty until the time has expired that they were supposed to have that they were supposed to give these basically apartments back to the city, basically, you know, giving them back as affordable units. So they'll wait for the time to expire for their units, and then they'll just convert the units back to the regular price and then get regular people back in those units. So that's a trick. Then they tell you, okay, well, we're going to have the whole building. It's going to be an affordable building, and it's going to be, you know, based on your income. But the minimum income is $100,000. How is that affordable housing? If your minimum income needs to be $1,000, but see, they use all of these words just to trick you. So I say all that to say, when he's sitting there talking about rent freeze and stabilized units, this is just more of the same rhetoric that we have seen that just goes swirls around a toilet bowl. It's just a cesspool of nonsense that really isn't going to help any of us. And I'll get off my soapbox there, Divine. I'll let you add.
Now you said it all. You said it all. There's nothing to add. There's nothing to add on that point.
So, you know, you just sitting here just saying shit, pissing on our heads and telling us it's raining. Okay. So, let's see. Yeah. And let's play the video. Let's see if we can get it. Oh, I forgot about this. Pause. We're gonna go back a bit. Because I gotta play this. So remember when Jamal Bowman had done that dumb stuff? I forgot about this video. I didn't write it down on my list here. I didn't write it down. But let's just play it for fun. Let's just play it for poops and giggles. Hold on.
Competitive Democratic primary, but something got into New York Congressman Jamal Bowman during a rally in the Bronx over the weekend that resulted in the incumbent candidate rolling up his sleeves quite literally and launching into a profanity-laced tirade, seemingly more reminiscent of a DJ at a foam party than a U.S. congressman seeking re-election in a tough race.
I'm not supposed to fight back. We're going to show them who the f*** we are. We're going to show them who the f*** we are.
And before Bowman, it was his fellow squad member, Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who introduced him and went on a tirade of her own.
Let's go, bro!
You're muted.
I said, look, there was the video. I had it. I doubted myself. Okay. So let's see. Shoot, what is this? What video is this?
My platform is that every single person should have housing. And I think faced with these two options, the system has hundreds of thousands of people unhoused, right? For what? And if there was any system that could guarantee each person housing, whether you call it the abolition of private property or you call it, you know, just a statewide housing guarantee, it is preferable to what is going on right now. Mm-hmm. And I think that people try and play like gotcha games about these kinds of things. And it's like, look, I care more about whether somebody has a home.
Those are very deceptive words. What is a home to you? It could just be, and that's the thing. These words are just so broad. What is a home? Does a home include running water? Does it include, you know what I'm saying? Does it include like certain things? What does that include? Because technically, the projects is a home, but there are people that are fighting NYCHA because they don't have hot water, they don't have this, they don't have that. He didn't say what type of home. So he uses these words and these broad terms, and I think it tricks people. You really have to. I think it was Neely Fuller who was no matter of fact, it's Dr. Claude Anderson. He says, you got to gut that thing like a fish. Open it up. See what's inside. Stop taking everything this man is saying for face value. Open it up. See what he means. Ask him some questions. Nobody ever asks him any. I feel like people don't ask him enough questions. Well, he about to get asked a couple questions right now, though.
On the city tax, though, and I know that takes effect with people right now, that top rate of people of 50,000 or more. So if you're going to be adding 2% to people at $1 million, that I just did the math, right? Well, but that's going to be an increase of 51% of what they pay now. I'm not saying cry for them. I'm saying if they leave, you're not going to get that money. And when you increase someone's taxes by 51%, aren't a lot of people going to leave?
We're saying we're increasing it by 2% of what it is right now. And ultimately, I'm guided by the facts. The Fiscal Policy Institute did an analysis of the top 1% of New Yorkers and found that they leave the city at 1/4 the rate of other income categories. And when they do leave, they leave to what are called high tax states, New Jersey, California. So what it then comes down to is, why are they leaving? Is it fiscal policy or is it actually quality of life? And I've heard that time and again from wealthier New Yorkers, from all New Yorkers.
So it's talk. They're going to go to Florida and all you think is talk.
In 2021, when I came to the State Assembly, we had the same fight to fund public schools, to raise taxes on billionaires and corporations. We were told millionaires would flee.
Yep.
And we now have more millionaires.
Okay, so the New York Times is saying that Mayor Adams is trying to gather business leaders to support him, to say this is going to be bad. And Bill Ackman, billionaire hedge fund manager, of course you know of him, New Yorker, he said he agrees with you that the city's broken, okay, but he has a real problem with your economic policies. He said the ability for New York City to offer services for the poor and needy, let alone the average New Yorker, is entirely dependent on New York City being a business-friendly environment and a place where wealthy residents are willing to spend 183 days, the amount you need to be taxed, and assume the associated tax burden. Unfortunately, both have already started making arrangements for the exits. So you just think that isn't going to add up. And by the way, that corporate tax rate that you're talking about, that's a big increase.
That's matching 7.25% going to 11.5%. And the point of it is that if it works for our regional neighbor, why can't it work for us? And with Bill Ackman, this is someone who put $500,000 into Andrew Cuomo's super PAC, someone to whom clearly money is not an issue. And ultimately, even for him, life would get better. Because what I'm looking to use this money for is to make the quality of life across the city better.
Okay, he's not alone. There are a lot like him, whether it's Ken Griffin or CEOs of big banks. Would you meet with them?
I'll meet with anyone. I will meet with them and I'll explain why I believe in the necessity of raising the top corporate tax rate. And I'd also tell Bill Ackman that I firmly disagree with his attempt to dismantle diversity, equity, and inclusion across the country, because it's not only against the morals of so many, it's also against the actual bottom line for so many businesses. And as a businessman, he should understand that.
So let's start with the DEI part first. He's so worried about DEI because he knows that affects him. Him, his family, his people, whatever. I'm not as worried about DEI. So, and I'm just gonna leave that there. And then I'm gonna say this. Mandani brought up numbers from 20 he said 2022, right? So that's before COVID. You're not negotiating from a place of strength, Mandani. But you have Manhattan is a ghost town. You ain't got the businesses that you had back then. You don't have the leverage that you used to have. It is so easy for whatever business, whatever whatever it is, to pick up and leave. You're not, and I'm not saying to bend down and bend over for people, but you're sitting here talking like you're negotiating from a place of strength. And this is what I mean. He does not have a complete picture. You're gonna have to work with these people as much as it sucks. They are integral to New York running. New York is a business town. Not only have to work with small business and big business. That's what New York is all about. And if you're not willing to work with them, they will pick up and leave. And we are already the people are already feeling the pinch of not having the money and the tax brackets that we used to have. Because they're not taking it. Once they leave, they take that money from us. This is why we have congestion pricing. This is why we have all of these things that came after 2022. All of these money-making, scheme-making ideas that Kathy Stankham Holcomb makes up her sadistic, twisted little Miss Nelson is missing mind. Whatever taxes she can put on us now, like she's the Queen of England, sitting there taxing us for turnips. We are feeling it. So now you're trying to run what little businesses we got off now, so we can shelter how you. And then on top of it, you trying to let us remain a sanctuary city. You still trying to help these illegals with how? Sir, I know that you come from a family of academics and they weren't shrewd negotiating business minds, but you're not negotiating from a place of strength when it comes to these businesses being here. New York is almost at the point where you're begging people to stay. You're begging people to have the office. Remember when Eric Adams was begging people to go back to work? Please stop working from home. He was trying to get the businesses they are trying to get. This is the whole reason why they gave them some illegals debit cards, so that they could spend the money in Manhattan.
Yeah.
The money that people wasn't spending no more because they're not going to work, they're not buying lunch. And when you're not going, look, I know for me, when I worked in the city, not only was I going to lunch, buying lunch in the city, but then I was also, stopping off at the store real quick to see what they had new, if there's any new shoes, you know what I'm saying, or anything. Then I was going to go to this store over here. Then, you know what, my friends want to meet up for drinks after work, and it's right there before I go home, you know what I'm saying? So now we at some bar somewhere, you know what I mean? Just having a couple of drinks and, getting some food before we go home. I ain't doing that no more. All that money's not being spent in the city like it used to be. And so this is why they gave them those debit cards, so that somebody would be spending money and swiping money in the city during that time. So, like I said, he's not an astute negotiator. And I'm going to let you, if you have anything to chime in.
Yeah, no, I think when you go towards, obviously we know about the stats on DEI. Like, we already know who it helps, who it doesn't help. But he said something that I want to call back to, that and again, it just goes toward the pigeonhole that they need to keep us in to continue their agenda. When he was talking about the New York State reparations bill they were trying to get passed, and he was talking about Trump, and they started interrupting him on from the right. He said something, it was a throwaway line, but like I said, I believe it's integral to what they try to do. And he said, yeah, the minority party who doesn't act like any minority that I know. And so you try to make a play on words, but what that really means is that the term minority, we know how loaded that is. And so that is like one of their secret weapons, right? That they get a chance to use and pull out whenever they want to do programs like DEI and the things. So I wanted to make sure I connected that back to that speech he said, because these are the things, like I said, that speak towards their mindset and their motivations. And so just kind of to piggyback on what you were saying about the businesses, yeah, like most of their plans and their theories are just that. And they plan them and project them on the theory that they won't leave, right? And so that's kind of what he was saying. Like, yeah, projections say that they say they're going to leave, but that they won't.
Right.
And then what happens is when they do, then the whole plan goes to shit. Because it was never based on, well, what happens if they leave? Because if they leave, then it doesn't work at all. It only works if they don't leave, or if some leave, or there's some level of compromise. And so in a world where, like you just said, and this is key, in a world where, because the same thing that I do for work, like I go to these businesses. And so now when most of these businesses are no longer there, or there's no one there any longer, it's only a matter of time before that location just doesn't exist at all anymore. Because there's nothing sustaining it. And then once it's an ecosystem, once that part of the ecosystem crashes, then all the things around it that it also fed, that also closes down and leaves. And so if you're in the city at all during the day, during business hours, you can see multiple businesses that used to be there that are not there anymore. And so whether they leave based on your taxes or they leave because no one's going into the office anymore, they leave and they're gone. And so all these people that you have a theory on you being able to tax, you can't get nothing if you tax zero. And that's kind of where these programs start to come up short, like you said. And then on top of the fact that you want to keep us a goodie and resource giveaway city for those that you want to allow to come here. And that's kind of one of the biggest issues I have with politicians like him, but more importantly, the city council that governs the budget for New York City, the 5 boroughs. They are pro-immigrant, pro-illegal immigrant. And that is a problem when all those things are happening at once.
Right. And it is draining our city of resources. It is making our city less safe. Can I go on and on and on and on and on? But I won't, because I need to. I'm cutting them up like a fish. I'm filleting them like a fish tonight. I'm taking Mandami. I'm cutting them open like a catfish tonight. Okay. So he says that he wants to have a fare-free city buses and improved public transit. Everybody wants that. But I don't see how you're gonna do any of that with Kathy Hochul over your shoulder, because she ready to charge us for everything. If she could charge us for air, she would. So I don't see how you're gonna do that. So again, you just making promises and talking out your behind. Then he says he wants a city-owned grocery store to combat food deserts. Let's see how that worked out in other cities.
Yeah.
different operators. The Linwood Sun Fresh grocery store is now closed. That grocery store was off of 31st and Prospect. Now, the company posted signs on the door saying it was their dream to operate the store. KMBC 9's Brian Johnson is live there tonight with why the store closed and what's next for that location, Brian.
Yeah, Bria. Well, Community Builders of Kansas City operates the Sunfresh. We reached out to them for comment, but they did not get back to us. The sign on the door says circumstances outside of their control forced the store to close. Meanwhile, now the closest Sunfresh is here on MLK, 3 miles away. Black plastic masks years of investment, but people know what's missing.
It was actually something that the community needed.
Neighbors say this Sunfresh was crucial to the community at 31st and Prospect. They can't believe it's gone.
It's going to be tragic on this neighborhood. It's going to be tragic.
The closest thing is Happy Foods, about a mile east.
You only have Wild Woodies.
It says it's seeing a slight increase in traffic. There's also an Aldi about a mile south.
I definitely would have liked to seen it last a little bit longer.
For months, the store hasn't fully been stocked. Still, person after person comes to buy groceries.
I thank the previous operator for the years they put into that, as well as their predecessor. And now we'll try to do all we can to make sure that this works.
Mayor Quinton Lucas is disappointed. He met with the store operator 2 weeks ago for hours trying to come up with a solution.
Yeah, I know there are different challenges to how a grocery store can operate. Part of that challenge is that the city certainly has been happy to be a partner, but there's always a limit to what we will invest as well.
It comes down to money. The city owns the building and has invested nearly $29 million in the store. Still, the Sunfresh was losing money.
All of a sudden, you roll down here this morning and
29 million.
they're gone, and they're saying they're not coming back.
All neighbors know is there's no food here now, and they wish that wasn't the case.
I'd like to know what could be done, maybe to bring it back.
In Kansas City, Brian Johnson, KMBC 9 News.
The city says it will try to find a new operator. Tonight, a spokesperson for Price Chopper tells KMBC 9 News that they have not had any talks to take over the Sunfresh location.
Again, pipe dreams. You just saying shit. You don't know how it works. First of all, let me explain this. Right? There are some things you want private, and there are some things you want to be state run. Groceries, you want that to be private. Nitro, you want that to be city or state run. And let me explain why. When it comes to a grocery store, something like that, you need something that's going to have some kind of competition. Competitive pricing, you know what I'm saying? So they could be like that. But when you got a state run, they don't have to, worry about competition. Clearly, you see the money just ended up going down the toilet. Because what happens is, unfortunately, especially in New York, if that happened in Kansas City, it's definitely going to happen here because we already see what the current administration, money is going missing everywhere. And it's just, let's not talk about the current administration. It was the administration before him and the administration before them and the administration before them. So I'm not going to pin it all on Adams like he's the only one. Like they trying to act like it is now. He's not the only one. He's the black one, but he's not the only one. They all have been doing it. And so when you have a state-run grocery store, that's what happened here. Corruption, they siphoning money off the top. How else can you explain it when they put $29 million into it? How come you could spend $29 million and you can't get a grocery store to work? Come on. I was born at night, not last night. So when he sits there and says these things about, oh, you know what I'm saying? I want a grocery. Oh, and I didn't go into the housing. The reason why you don't want housing to be private is because a private institution needs to make money. NYCHA is not about making money. You can't make money if you're charging $20 for rent. If you're not charging market rent, you can't make money. So it has to be a state or a city-run institution because it has to get funding from the city or state in order to run. Now, my solution would be is that you should get sponsors, private sponsors for certain buildings, or even fundraisers for certain buildings. We got certain rappers that are from certain projects why they can't do a benefit concert to gather money to bring in money to help the projects, to use that money to now use for renovations and this and that, and you use private money on a publicly funded thing and just use that as donations, because making it completely private, that's not going to work. Because like I said, a privately run company, they have to make a profit. It's a fact, or they will get fired. The shareholders must have a profit. And there's nobody that can run a building anywhere near as big as the buildings in NYCHA and you not be, a big business. You can't be some small business and be able to run these huge buildings. So it would have to be some sort of a corporation. And a corporation is subject to the shareholders. And the shareholders want dividends. And if you're not going to bring them dividends, they're going to get a CEO that will. So you cannot make NYCHA private and you cannot make grocery stores state funded. It just don't work. And I submit to you that I am not a political scientist. So if I know this, Mandani knows it too. He's just telling y'all he's just pissing on your head and telling you it's raining. You have anything to add before I keep going?
No.
Now, he wants public child care and a push for $30 minimum wage by 2030. Let me see. What do I have queued up next? I found a couple videos that I was looking for. Yes, perfect. This is exactly where I want to be.
I've not had any thoughts of it.
This California McDonald's franchise owner says he's had to cut staffing by 10% in the past year. And this chart might explain why. Last year, California increased its minimum wage for fast food workers from $16 to $20 an hour. Politicians like Governor Gavin Newsom hailed this as a great idea that would help working class Californians. But look at what happened with fast food jobs. While employment in affected fields basically stayed the same in other states, it's cratered in California. It looks like a lot of business owners couldn't afford the hike in labor costs, so they laid off employees or stopped hiring new ones, because the real minimum wage is $0.
So I know you couldn't hear, but it was playing because I'm listening on.
I couldn't hear you before you went to go cue it up. The video played right. Fine.
Oh, okay. I didn't think I said anything. Yeah. So when he sits there and talk about now, he want to raise the minimum wage to $30 an hour.
Yeah.
Let me let you guys understand something. When I was 14 years old, I got my working papers and I got my first job, right? And you know what I made? The minimum wage. So you mean to tell me, see, minimum wage is not for adults. Minimum wage is not to be able to, it should not be able to sustain a whole family. That was not what minimum wage was created for. Minimum wage is what you pay kids for summer jobs. Now, unfortunately, there are a lot of adults who come here to this country and they start off at those very same jobs that used to be for kids. When I was a teenager, it was kids at the fast food jobs. It was kids at the grocery store, college kids. The adults were the managers and the supervisors.
Mm-hmm.
But the staff was mostly college kids and high school kids working after school or on the weekends. So You know, that's what was in retail. That's what was in fast food. That's what was in the supermarket. That's what was in these jobs that now people are trying to say that they're trying to sustain their families on. And don't get me wrong, I get it, but that's not how this country was set up. You have to work and get experience. And unfortunately, because you came here as an adult, you're kind of thrust in the same position without experience as the teenagers. But that doesn't mean now that we should change the rules now for you. Because what about the teenagers? No one's going to pay a 14-year-old $30 an hour. They're not going to do it. And truth be told, they're not going to pay an adult $30 an hour to flip no burgers either. They're going to get a robot first. They're not paying you. You think that that's, again, another 5,000-year-old genie trick. You think that because they raised the minimum wage that they're going to pay you. California has already shown that to not be true. Raise the minimum wage, they remove the jobs completely. Completely. So y'all sitting there letting him gas you up. Piss on your head and tell you it's raining if you want to. I'm here to wake you up. I'm here to give you a napkin and tell you to dry your forehead. Matter of fact, I'm here to give you an umbrella and push him away. Get him away from us. His weird self in the food truck with no shirt on and his nana. I don't know what's going on with white sauce. What's next? Yeah. All right. So now we'll start talking about his campaign momentum. So we get into the end now. Okay. He won the Democratic Party in June 2025, defeating Andrew Cuomo and others. He's leading the polls in fundraising with over $1 million raised from grassroots donors.
My infatuation with a black man's beard started in my childhood. Apparently, my father kept his beard solely at my request. I loved playing in it as a little girl. He looked so manly to little tiny me. So my love for a black man's beard isn't a fad. It's always been in me. The seed for this love offering was planted long ago inside of a little black girl who loves her daddy. Infused in this beard growth, spray and oil is love, admiration, appreciation, and God's herbs to foster growth, healing, and a touch of softness to the strongest, most powerful men on the planet. Love Bruck, evenmelanin.com.